Hey, we haven't had one of these in a long time. So everybody,
What is going on, Bucs fans and CFP fans? Evan Wanish here, back at you with another video talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And today we are going to be going over the best and the worst in the Buccaneers Week 15 victory against the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know if it's be a surprising victory that the Bucs won, but maybe how they won, right? 40-17, the Buccaneers put 40 up against one of the better defenses in the NFL, and that includes a game where they had 2 offensive turnovers as well, so could have been even more had those turnovers not happened. But I am not alone today. I am joined by my CFP co-host, Mr. Rhett Matthew. Rhett, how are you doing on this lovely Victory Monday, the 4th straight Victory Monday for the Buccaneers?
I am doing well. 30 unanswered points in that second half from Tampa Bay. After a classic second quarter meltdown, like you said, that game very easily could have gotten away from them. They could have had a harder time bouncing back than they did, but they played very well down the stretch, played some of the best complimentary football we've seen all year, and it was good enough to knock off a Chargers team that has been pretty good this year as well.
Definitely. And let's get right into it, though. Let's talk about the best here. I'm going to start off with the quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Now, we did mention a turnover, right? And he had the one interception, a bad throw, a bad decision. Would like to have that one back. But other than that, 22 for 27, 288 yards, 4 touchdowns today for Baker Mayfield. And actually set a career high in passing touchdowns with, I believe, what he's at 32 now. And also became the third Buccaneers quarterback, joining Jameis Winston and Tom Brady to throw 30-plus touchdowns in a season for the Bucs. So pretty good company there. Obviously, Jameis Winston and Tom Brady, names that Bucs fans know very well. It's crazy how the last 3 quarterbacks that the Bucs have had are the ones. I think it kind of says where the league is going, right, in terms of passing. But it is impressive nonetheless. Baker Mayfield had a nice day for himself on Sunday, and he needed a good performance, though, right? This was a game where we talked about it on the preview show, how the Bucs needed good Baker Mayfield, and even with that turnover, he was still able to overcome that and make some critical plays down the stretch.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on Baker this week to take care of the football, and I know that interception is still going to sting. He's been a little streaky with the turnovers lately, but again, his ability to overcome that second quarter, continue to play well, continuing to just keep firing, finding his receivers throughout the rest of that game, it bodes well for how he's going to play down the stretch, right? You got a quarterback who has the ability to shrug off these interceptions and these tough plays and go out there and continue to play well enough to lead his offense to a win. You want him to stay focused. You want him to stay on target. And I thought he did a good job of doing that after what really could have been a much more disastrous second quarter for the Bucs.
Definitely. Yeah, they definitely avoided the second quarter lull. After 2 straight drives with 2 turnovers. They definitely could have crumbled there, but they did not. So, and one of the reasons that they didn't, I think, was because of a boost they got from Mr. Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving had another nice day. Obviously, still not 100%, right? A guy who I think is still playing a little bit banged up, but had the 54-yard run, 15 carries, 117 yards. He doesn't find the end zone, but he is well on his way to potentially getting 1,000 yards here on the season, which is crazy, for a rookie who we didn't really have those types of expectations for him setting out, in the early in the season, right? Heading into his rookie season. Didn't really expect that to be the case, but Bucky Irving continues to be really, really good for this offense. The running game in general was great for Tampa Bay on Sunday. So Bucky Irving just puts up another great performance.
He's my pick for Rookie of the Year. I know he's not going to win it for the NFL honors, but he absolutely should. One of the most impressive offensive rookies we have seen from Tampa Bay in quite some time, continuing to run the football well. And yeah, only got 15 carries this week, but he's still averaging over 7 yards a carry, and this guy's supposedly playing hurt, right? So the Buccaneers truly have a weapon here in rookie running back Bucky Irving. Looking to keep him healthy, expecting another light week of practice, but if he doesn't practice at all and he still gives you 115 yards on 15 carries, I'll take that every single week.
Sure, I think it's all right. But with that being said, let's get to our last one on offense before we switch over to the defense. And this was, probably the biggest one, right? I think this is the performance, people are going to be talking about the most coming out of this game. That's Mr. Mike Evans. It was a vintage Mike Evans performance, 9 catches, 159 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including a 57-yard touchdown. Had 2 explosive touchdowns. Wasn't like, your fade route or anything like that. Like it was 2 explosive touchdowns when the Bucs really needed them. The one was to give the Buccaneers their lead, which they would never end up giving up again, and then also the other one was to make it a two-score game. So 2 critical spots there for the Bucs, and Mike Evans comes up huge yet again.
Today was the most fun I've had watching a Mike Evans performance in quite some time. He's had explosive games, but I swear, man, every time they cut a camera to him, he just had a big old smile on his face. And so did I. Every time I can see Mike Evans get involved and take over a game on offense at times like that for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it is a good day. Honorable mention to Jalen McMillan as well. Another week in a row. These last 2 weeks, he's got 3 touchdowns. So the rookie wide receiver coming around, but a vintage day for Mr. Mike Evans. Still getting it done. The bona fide wide receiver one on this Buccaneers team.
For sure. And speaking of vintage, we're going to talk about one of the older players, the oldest player on the Buccaneers team, and that is Mr. Levante David. Levante David had 12 total tackles in this game, including a 1.5 sacks as well. So made an impact in the pass rushing area as well. David, continues to basically say to Father Time, hang on a minute, not quite yet, and continues to play well for the Buccaneers. And again, the defense pitched a shutout in the second half. The Chargers were up 17-13 at the half, and they ended up with 17 points. So big performance by the defense, but a really big performance by Levante David himself.
Buccaneer legends on full display in Los Angeles. We just talked a lot about Mike Evans having a career day. Levante David continuing to do the same thing. He is aging like a fine wine. I'm never going to get tired of talking about number 54. We have to appreciate him while he is still here and continuing to do great things for this Buccaneers defense, just like this week.
For sure. And we're going to turn our attention to one more player that's in the secondary here. And it's a player because I mentioned him as a player to watch. So I figured it's only fair. He made a critical play in this game. Figured it's only fair to have him as one of our best. And that is cornerback Jamal Dean, who really, he's been on the worst a couple times, right? He's had a down year, has had his struggles at times this year, but has the interception of Justin Herbert. And Herbert does not really throw many interceptions. It only thrown one coming into this game. So Jamal Dean also had 3 tackles. So a good day for Dean where, with a banged up secondary, they need him to step up. He did just that.
Yeah, Jamal Dean had a strong afternoon. You kind of mentioned it. Maybe outplayed Zion McCollum. And this is Jamal Dean, who coming into this game had a lot of pressure on him to step up and make a play. This is also a Buccaneers secondary, a Buccaneers defensive unit that has been starving for interceptions this season. So he gets their second INT in 2 weeks. Good game for Jamal Dean.
For sure. And hopefully can be the start of, something, for Jamal Dean to maybe get some confidence, start playing a little bit better down the stretch here. It would be a huge boost for the Bucs defense. But with that being said, let's go on to the worst. And like we always say, there's bad in wins, there's good in losses, right? It's just the name of the game there. And I think one of the things we're going to talk about is the offensive penalties. Okay, there was a number of offensive penalties on Sunday for the Bucs. Really held back a couple of big runs by Baker Mayfield. There's a couple of holding calls that got called back. So something that the Bucs are going to have to look to clean up there. But really, I mean, when you're talking about this offense, I think that's the one thing that you can really look at and say, you really need to clean that up.
Yeah, and there's just going to be some backbreakers. Tic-tac penalties are going to pop up. People say there's holding on every single play in the NFL, but you can't afford it in some scenarios. And yeah, when you run away with a performance in the second half like they did today, you don't have to worry as much about those backbreaking penalties because they are going to be fewer and farther in between. But if it was a closer game, those could certainly affect the outcome. So just got to play clean down the stretch, and I think they can do that.
Yeah, and then moving on to the defense, we're going to be mentioning, you had mentioned him a little bit earlier, Zion McCollum. And I don't think McCollum was awful by any means, I just didn't really think it was as strong of a game from him on Sunday. Was playing a lot of soft coverage, missed a couple of tackles. I just, again, just don't think he played his best football game on Sunday. So again, he's had a great year. I think the strides he's made in development have been huge for the Bucs, and I'm sure they are very, very pleased with it. Just not his best work on Sunday.
Yeah, he's been on the best side of this list several times this season. Probably the best Buccaneers corner overall when you look at the 2024 season and some of these defensive back rooms they've had headed into these games. He's had a really good year, but like you said, a victim of some broken coverages, not making the plays when he needed to. But he will bounce back. He is a very talented player, and this is his best season so far. He has set the standard for himself, and I think he knows what he needs to do to get back on track here.
Absolutely 100% agree. But let us know who your best and the worst are. We're curious to hear. Do you have anybody else on your list that you thought had a really good game or you thought had a really bad game? We're curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Anybody that we didn't mention, or if we did mention somebody and you'd like to point out another point in the comment section below, we would love to hear your thoughts. But thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And go Bucs.